Online, anyone can be anyone, but sometimes the mask doesn't just hide a lie, it hides a killer. In 2005, Thomas Montgomery was living what most would call a pretty average life. He was a 46-year-old married father of two, working a factory job in Buffalo, New York. But online, he was someone else entirely. Using the screen name Marine Sniper, Montgomery created a whole new identity. He pretended to be an 18-year-old Marine named Tommy, about to be deployed to Iraq. Young, strong, confident. Everything he wished he was in real life. He found his way into a teen chat room on a gaming site called Pogo, and that's where he met Tall Hot Blonde, a flirty blonde 18-year-old softball player from West Virginia named Jessie. At least, that's who she said she was. They quickly fell into a full-blown online romance. They exchanged messages, gifts, even underwear. Jessie sent him photos, some innocent, some not. Montgomery, using an old Marine boot camp photo of himself, completely leaned into the fantasy. He later said the relationship felt more real than real life. As the months passed, Montgomery became obsessed. He started writing in a journal about how his real self would die and be replaced by Tommy, the young Marine in love with Jessie. He even wrote, "On January 2nd, 2006, Tom Montgomery ceases to exist and is replaced by an 18-year-old battle-scarred Marine. He's moving to West Virginia to be with the love of his life." But things came crashing down in March 2006. One day, Montgomery's daughter was on the family computer when Jessie messaged him. That's when his wife, Cindy, found out. She went digging and uncovered everything. The messages, the gifts, even the red panties Jessie had mailed him. She sent Jessie a photo of their family along with a message. "The man in the center is Tom, my husband since 1989. He is 46 years old." Jessie was horrified. She ended things immediately and sent a message to Montgomery saying, "I hate you. You should be put in jail for this." But this love triangle wasn't over. Not long after, Jessie began messaging Brian Barrett, a 22-year-old college student and part-time factory worker at the same place as Montgomery. Brian went by Beefcake online, and Jessie, she sent him the same kind of photos and messages she once sent to Tommy. Montgomery spiraled. The jealousy was eating him alive. He started sending violent, threatening messages. One of them even said, "Brian will pay in blood." At one point, Jessie and Brian even exposed Montgomery in the chat rooms, revealing his real age and identity. They called him a liar and a predator. But despite all this, Montgomery still clung to the fantasy. Jessie would occasionally flirt with him again, just enough to keep the door cracked open. Montgomery later said it was like a drug. He couldn't stop. Eventually, Jessie went back to Brian, and things escalated again. Brian even told Montgomery he was planning to meet Jessie in person while passing through West Virginia. That was the last straw. On September 15, 2006, Brian Barrett left work at the factory and got into his car. That's when someone ambushed him, shooting him 3 times with a military rifle. He wasn't found until Monday morning when employees returned to work. At the scene, investigators found a magazine for a rifle and a discarded peach pit, but no shell casings. It was clear the killer knew what they were doing, no mess and no trace. Brian's murder shocked his family. He didn't have enemies, but coworkers told police about the ongoing feud between Barrett and Montgomery. One coworker even recalled Montgomery saying that if he were to kill someone, he'd use a rifle, sniper style, and wouldn't leave behind any shell casings. Police immediately looked for Montgomery, but he was missing. They feared he might be headed to West Virginia to go after Jessie next. Using a number from Brian's phone, they called Jessie. She answered, confirmed the online relationships, and said she was fine. But just to be safe, police in West Virginia went to check on her. And when they knocked on the door, they got the twist of a lifetime. A woman answered, Mary Sheeler. She said she was Jessie's mother. But here's the thing, the real Jessie had no idea who Brian or Thomas even were, because Mary had been behind the tall, hot blonde persona all along. For over a year, she had been pretending to be her daughter online, sending messages, even mailing her daughter's photos and underwear without her knowledge, all to flirt with men behind a fake screen name. Montgomery wasn't the only one living a lie. Mary was too. Back in New York, Montgomery finally resurfaced. He told police he was home before 10 p.m. the night of the murder, but his wife said he got home closer to 11. He showed police his gun cabinet, saying he didn't own a rifle, but an old family photo showed the rifle sitting inside the same cabinet just months earlier. The peach pit at the scene, it matched Montgomery's DNA. It was enough. He was arrested and charged with Brian Barrett's murder. In 2007, Thomas Montgomery pled guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. As for Mary Sheeler, the woman who pretended to be her daughter, she was never charged with the crime. Morally repulsive, absolutely, but legally, she hadn't broken the law. Still, she didn't walk away unscathed. Her husband divorced her daughter disowned her, and Mary quietly disappeared from public life, later enrolling at a community college in West Virginia. In her only public interview, she said, "It was stupid. It should have never happened. I just never thought it would go anywhere." But it did. It went all the way to a grave. We've all heard of people taking fiction a little too seriously, but in 2008, one man didn't just blur the line between fantasy and reality. He tried to live it. This is the story of Mark Twitchell, a married father, aspiring filmmaker, and a man who desperately wanted to become Dexter Morgan. Mark Twitchell was 29 years old, married with a young daughter. To most people, he seemed like just another average guy chasing his filmmaking dreams. But behind the scenes, he was obsessed with the fictional serial killer Dexter Morgan, the vigilante who hunts other killers in the hit Showtime series Dexter. He didn't just watch the show, he studied it. He wrote about it, and then he started to recreate it. Twitchell rented a garage, claiming it was to film a project called House of Cards, a short film about a man lured to a garage and murdered. But what was supposed to be fiction became something far darker. He turned that garage into a real-life kill room, complete with plastic sheeting, a steel barrel for body parts, and a game processing kit that included a butcher knife, fillet knife, and a bone saw. On October 3, 2008, a man named Gills responded to an online dating ad. He believed he was meeting a woman named Sheena. She sent him specific directions to a garage in Edmonton and told him to enter through the partially open garage door. But when Gills stepped inside, he was attacked by a man in a hockey mask, who shocked him with a stun baton and taped his eyes. The attacker even pulled out a gun and ordered him to the ground. In a moment of survival, Gills decided he wasn't going down like that. He ripped the tape off, grabbed the gun, and realized it was plastic. A fight broke out, and he somehow managed to escape and drive off. Out of embarrassment, he didn't go to the police, and that decision may have sealed the fate of the next victim. Just 1 week later, October 10, 2008, 38-year-old Johnny Altinger also answered a dating ad on Plenty of Fish. Like Gills, he was sent specific directions to the same garage. He was never seen again. 3 days later, Johnny's friends got a strange email from his account. It claimed he'd met a woman and was running off to Costa Rica, but they immediately knew something was wrong. This wasn't Johnny's style at all. They reported him missing, and crucially, they handed over the directions Johnny had sent them before his date. Police followed the address straight to the garage, rented to none other than Mark Twitchell. Twitchell said the blood in the garage came from a movie scene, but when police asked an actor from the project about any blood, he told them there wasn't any. Luminol revealed hidden blood, a lot of it. While investigating, police searched Twitchell's car, and that's when they found SK Confessions. It was a deleted file on his laptop. He claimed it was a screenplay, but the title, SK, stood for serial killer. The file described in vivid, step-by-step detail how a man lured victims to a garage, attacked them, dismembered their bodies, and disposed of the remains. He even described the weapons: simple, elegant, and beautiful. He explained how he set up the kill room, how he chose his tools, and how he felt while doing it. And the creepiest part, everything in the document lined up with what police found in real life, right down to the burned barrel where he tried to destroy body parts. One section even described a victim who got away. That was all detectives needed. They held a press conference showing the hockey mask. When Gil's Tetralot saw it, he finally came forward. He had been the one who escaped. And now there was proof. SK Confessions wasn't fiction, it was a confession. Mark Twitchell was arrested on Halloween Day 2008. In court, he tried to spin a wild story, saying he was filming a viral movie project. He claimed the plan was to scare men who showed up for fake dates, then let them go, and later use their stories to generate buzz for the film. He even claimed that Johnny Altinger attacked him and he killed in self-defense, but the jury didn't buy it. The evidence was overwhelming. The SK confessions, the emails, the blood, the knife, the directions to where he dumped Johnny's remains in a manhole. In 2011, Twitchell was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Even after his conviction, Twitchell continued to write letters from prison. He insisted that Dexter had almost nothing to do with his crimes, despite all the similarities.
Contacting the lawyer, that still holds true, okay, just so you're aware. Okay. If at any time we're talking you want to contact the lawyer, you can do so at any time. I'll take you to a phone. There's something else I want to tell you, Mark, and that's that there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that you're involved in the disappearance of John Altinger. No doubt in my mind at all, Mark.
Why?
As I said, Mark, there's no doubt in my mind that you're involved in this disappearance. I just want to get to the bottom of this, because this is not going to go away. It's not going to leave you, Mark.
I don't understand.
I'm going to explain some of the reasons to you. But you do understand, because you know what I'm talking about. You're involved in this, and unfortunately, something got carried away. Something got carried away with this guy. I mean, talking to you here tonight, you seem like a decent guy. And I think that something happened that night that maybe you just didn't have total control of. And I'm here to get to the bottom of it. Because it's not going to go away. This is going to stay with you. And we need to clear this up here and now. We need to clear this up tonight. You need to tell me the truth about what's going on. What happened with this fella. This happened because of the movie thing? Something that went too far?
I have no idea what the hell is going on.
You do have an idea. You have a very good idea, Mark, about what's going on. You know exactly what happened there that night. Because that what you've been telling me hasn't been the truth. Has it, Mark?
This can't be. I don't...
What do you mean it can't be?
I just don't understand.
Well, what don't you understand? We have a fellow who's missing. We know he's been to your garage. We've talked to all the neighbors now. You know, the neighbors saw you changing the lock about a week and a half ago. Neighbors watch. They see all these things. Little things that you don't realize. Okay? We know the lock was changed long before the 15th. Yet when you get there on the 15th, you tell me Oh, that's your lock on there on the 15th. It's not till you go back with the policeman last night that you notice, or you say. So that's a lie. That's a lie you told me. When you gave your version of events to Detective Tabler last night, your version of events was different than what you told me today. What you wrote down was different than what you told me in this room. What you told me in this room when I first came in was different from your final version of events. You've changed your whole story. I mean, your version about the gas, your first version to Mike Tabler, you're leaving. You're leaving the garage, going to get gas. Then he approaches you. Now in your version today, no, you got gas before. Your reason for having gas doesn't even make sense. You're buying gas for a lawnmower you don't own? You're buying gas just to keep in your car? No, you're buying gas to get rid of things. You shake your head, but you know what I'm saying is true. An innocent man does not come in here and tell lies. That's genuine, Mark. Everything I'm telling you in here is genuine. So get out of your film producer mode and the facade of thinking that everyone's an actor. Because this is real life. All right? Real life. The neighbors see that car there before the 15th of October. Why would that car be at your garage before the 15th of October? You conveniently can't remember where you were on the 14th of October.
Nothing convenient about it. It's just actual fact. Despite anything that's been going on, I really cannot.
You cannot what?
Remember.
Remember what?
About the 14th.
So you can't remember about the 14th. Why did you lie about the 15th? What is your explanation for providing me basically different versions of what happened on the 15th? Do you have any questions about any of that? Do you want to clear anything up now so I don't have to keep coming after you? I haven't tried to baffle you with bullshit on anything.
Again, you know what? I mean, you say that, but part of me is always going to wonder.
That's because you watch too much TV. We all do, I guess.
No, I don't think I understand the difference.
Bottom line, though, is I'm just here to get the truth. And the truth isn't always pleasant. I know that. How do you ever begin to rebuild it again?
I think something like that's even possible.
Oh, of course I do. Happens all the time. I see it all the time. I used to work at Edmonton Max. I was the liaison guy out there. So I do all the investigations out at Edmonton Institution. Dealt with all the hardcore convicts, guys that were in there for way worse than this. Like, I'm talking guys that have done mass murders. multiple killings, killing family members, planned executions. They accepted their punishment, they're doing their time. But those guys, they're a different breed, they're not you. Those guys, very, very few. I can't even think of one at the max, maybe at other institutions. They're the hardcore of the hardcore. They're the ones that have no remorse. They don't care. It's like they're missing something. I don't know if they were born with something missing or what, but they don't have that remorse. I call it like a remorse syndrome. They don't have it. They don't have a conscience.
Okay, what's the steps in getting a lawyer? Because I don't have one.
I just take you out of this room to a phone and you can call.
Is it like delayed? I mean, well,
there's phone numbers there. There's a phone book. Take you to a phone, you can call. There's phone books there. There's a legal aid number on the wall. They'll provide any legal advice you want. Take you out any time. If you want to call any specific lawyer you know, there's white and yellow pages there.
In 2012, Janelle Potter was 30 years old and still living at home with her parents, Marvin and Barbara. She had chronic health problems, including type 1 diabetes, and developmental delays that made it hard for her to connect with people her own age. She didn't work, didn't drive, and rarely left the house. According to her estranged sister, Janelle's parents tried to mold her into someone she wasn't, while also reinforcing how different she was. In a way, she never had a chance to grow up independently, so Janelle turned to the internet. Social media became her lifeline, and also, eventually, her downfall. In 2005, Janelle and her family moved to Mountain City. She struggled to fit in and believed the locals didn't like outsiders. But things began to change when she met a woman named Tracy Greenwell at a local pharmacy. Tracy and her friends, including her brother Billy Payne, took pity on Janelle. She was sick, sheltered, and clearly lonely. Tracy later introduced Janelle to her cousin Jamie Curd, who was good with computers. The two started secretly dating without Janelle's parents knowing. But while Janelle's social life seemed to be opening up, a dark undercurrent started forming. She claimed she was being cyberbullied, harassed online by anonymous users, and she believed one of them was Billy Payne's girlfriend, Billie Jean Hayworth. Janelle thought Billie Jean was jealous of her. The online feud escalated, and it wasn't just digital insults anymore. Janelle claimed the threats were getting violent. At one point, a rock was found in her yard with Billy Payne and Billie Jean written on it. Eventually, they all unfriended each other on Facebook, but the resentment didn't go away. Someone named Chris started messaging Janelle's friends and family. He claimed to be a CIA agent assigned to protect her. He warned that Billy Payne and Billie Jean were threatening her and that something needed to be done. But here's the twist. Chris didn't exist. All the emails from this so-called CIA operative were traced back to the Potters' own home computer. Investigators would later conclude that Janelle, or possibly Janelle and her mother Barbara, were pretending to be Chris, creating an entire fantasy where Janelle was the victim and her enemies were dangerous enough to be taken out. On the morning of January 31st, 2012, a friend walked into Billy Payne and Billie Jean Hayworth's home and found a horrifying scene. Billy had been shot in the face and had his throat slashed. Billie Jean had also been shot in the face, execution style, while she was cradling their 7-month-old baby. Miraculously, the baby survived unharmed. The town was shocked. Who could kill a young couple and do it while a baby watched? Suspicion quickly turned toward the Potters. When investigators questioned Janelle, Barbara, and Marvin, they noticed inconsistencies, especially with how Janelle avoided talking about her relationship with Jamie Curd. When Curd was brought in for questioning, he cracked. After nearly 6 hours of interrogation, he told detectives that Marvin Potter, Janelle's father, was the killer. According to Kurd, Marvin had been manipulated into believing his daughter was in real danger. He was convinced, through months of fake emails and messages from Chris, that Billy and Billie Jean were tormenting her and plotting violence. Marvin believed he had to act. Detectives searched the Potter home and found dozens of weapons, printed out photos of the victims, and over 100 reconstructed pages of fake CIA emails warning about threats to Janelle. The messages all came from the same IP address, inside the Potter home. Janelle's boyfriend also admitted to being there the night of the murders, helping Marvin break into the victim's home. It was Janelle and Barbara who had allegedly stirred the pot from behind the scenes, building the narrative that ultimately led to the murders. Prosecutors argued that Janelle was the mastermind. She created the Chris persona, manipulated her parents, and played the victim while pulling the strings. Barbara, meanwhile, fueled the delusions and reinforced the lies. Marvin was arrested first in February 2012. Janelle's boyfriend eventually took a plea deal for 25 years and testified against the Potters. In 2013, Barbara and Janelle were also arrested. During the 2015 trial, prosecutors pointed out that the grammar, spelling, and tone of Chris's emails perfectly matched Janelle's way of speaking. It became clear. Janelle was hiding behind a fake identity, using it to wage a war she couldn't fight in real life. All three, Janelle, Marvin, and Barbara, were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison.
CIA agent. Chris often wrote to Barbara Potter or Mr. Kurd, telling them of movements, actions, and plans he had learned that the victims and their friends were taking or would take against Janelle Potter. Barbara Potter's email account included many emails written as Barbara to this same Chris, and those emails expressed grave concern for Janelle Potter's welfare, as well as hostility towards the victims and their friends due to her belief that her family was in danger. Further review of the emails revealed that Barbara Potter also wrote messages to Chris telling him of plans that Marvin Potter had to deal with the victims and their friends, insinuating that he would take violent action against them if necessary. Also, as there was no evidence that Marvin Potter himself used the computer for communications, it was concluded by investigators that Barbara Potter was communicating Chris's messages to Marvin Potter, as her messages indicated such. Barbara Potter's communications to Chris indicated a wish of Marvin Potter that another individual join him on his plans for the victims. At first, Barbara Potter expressed a desire to Chris that Chris himself participate in Mr. Potter's actions. Eventually, the person writing as Chris suggested Jamie Kurd as a participant. And thereafter, Barbara Potter began emailing with Jamie Kurd and reporting to Chris about Mr. Kurd's growing association with the Potter family. At her previous trial, Jamie Kurd testified that on the morning of the killings, Marvin Potter picked him up at his residence and traveled to a church parking lot within sight range of the victim's home. Mr. Kurd testified that Mr. Potter waited until Mr. Payne's father left for work. After the man's vehicle left, Mr. Kurd said they walked to the home and that Mr. Potter handed him a gun. He testified that they then entered and Mr. Kurd stood at the door as Mr. Potter shot each of the victims. The state's theory in prosecuting the case was that Marvin Potter, being an older gentleman with mobility issues, needed a second person to assist him in ensuring the intended victims did not escape and thus make his plan to kill them fail. Forensic linguistic analysis to the Potter women's communications, the emails, revealed many characteristics of known writings of the women to be consistent with features of the subpoenaed evidence. That analysis highly suggested that Janelle Potter was the actual author of the Chris communications and that Barbara Potter was the author of her own. At a motions hearing held in Johnson County for Marvin Potter's case, Barbara Potter testified and under cross-examination admitted to having engaged in email communications with a Chris from the CIA. A search warrant executed on the Potter home and vehicles led to the discovery of trash bags in the truck bed of Marvin Potter's truck that contained shredded papers. A TBI lab employee pieced many of the papers together, and they were found to be written electronic communications consistent with the email and Facebook accounts of Janelle and Barbara Potter. Writings that also expressed hostility towards the victims.